before showing you the King Abdullah financial district, I just want to go through our core interests in when we do architecture, when we do urbanism, when we do new cities, as we're also doing some here in China. We are Danish, so we come from very far in the north, and our winters are very long and dark, so we have learned to appreciate and to work with light very carefully. And this is actually something we use either in Denmark, where we make a lot of light, or in Saudi Arabia, where we really conceal it and make less of it. Our core interest is space, the space inside the buildings and the space between the buildings in the cities that we design. And of course, our core interest is people. And when we approach designs in the countries we are now involved with, we approach it with humility, and we try to learn and understand what might be the thing that the people in these countries would relate to when we do the design. Our finest example of this approach, this Scandinavian approach, if you will, is our concert hall in Iceland. It is based on, it is relating to the people of Iceland by working with the form, the natural elements of the landscape of Iceland, and by also working with the light of Iceland, which is exceptional. And this is what has enabled us to create this unique building. But when we work in China, we have a lot of different approaches. We have experienced that this approach of focusing on the cultural values of the project is really interesting in China. The leaders are more and more interested in projects that relate to the Chinese context. In Foshan, in southern China, we were asked to design a cultural center for a new city. It is 700,000 square meters. And because the city is so famous for its parades and large festive arrangements, we proposed a public space entirely pedestrian in the heart of a new city, a program where we mixed the cultural buildings that were asked for. We added a lot of commercial aspect to it to make a mixed city. And then we created this unique space, which we believe will be a fantastic container for these events. Of course, it's also based on the climatic conditions. Being in southern China, this canopy that covers this plaza will offer a very intimate but protected environment where we believe we will encourage people to be more outdoor. The main building at the end of the axis is opera combined with other functions, and its very structural facade is derived from a pattern that is very typical of this region, Foshan. And opera is divided in 4 foot and creates this public space between the 4 foot. And it is getting built now. And we can already experience when we are there that the massing is creating winds and a nice environment inside. At night it becomes a lantern. Foshan is also very famous for its lantern. They're very proud of those. And this part was also something that relates to them. In Yuhang, we were asked to do a similar program, a cultural center in the middle of a new city. There's many of those going on in China these days. And here, we decided to split the program in 2 parts. One large part, which is a podium and the opera building itself, that is a podium that relates to the ancient structures of, that have been found recently in the area that are several thousand years old. And we decided to base the design on recreating such a podium situation for the people to create a sacred, almost sacred space for the culture, for the large gatherings to happen. But next to it, we divided the program. They expected us to do a big building, of course, but we fragmented it into many different buildings in order to create more a neighborhood, a sustainable environment in which communities can exchange. And we also mixed a commercial into it, which we always forced to do to enhance the city and the fact that it can be alive the whole day. So this is the elevated plaza that opens up to a theater that becomes a stage. And next to this large and monumental element, we created this more human scale, intimate environment that is very relating to them as well, because it is a water city and they do have some of those in the region still. And they were very happy to see that we continue this tradition. And here it is not the architecture itself that is very important, it's the space between the buildings that we are focused on, creating a very nice environment. This is an art school that is then there. And by offering them these fragmented buildings, we believe that we have created a setup for a new city center. King Abdullah Financial District basically has the same approach as those I just showed. It is a development of 3 million square meter, and it's a design that focuses again on the quality between the buildings and the space between the buildings, the urban realm. This is what was really special in this project. And again, the program was expected to be 2 million square meter of business and offices, and we added 1 million square meters extra of residential and community creating elements so that this city became more sustainable. It is the largest green development under construction in the world, and it's LEED pre-certified. There will be a little video about it.
I'm not done yet. Well, apologies for not providing popcorns, but anyway, anybody here from Saudi? No? Okay, then that's good. Well, first of all, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background information here. As you can see here, this is our site, Riyadh. As some of you might know, that at times it could be challenging to deliver a meaningful urban habitat in a desert environment like Riyadh. Now, a little bit of the reasons for this project, behind this project basically. There are a number of mega projects that are being constructed in Saudi Arabia at the moment. King Abdullah Financial District is one of them. And its purpose is basically to provide a state-of-the-art infrastructure for the growing financial sector. And apart from being a piece of prestigious real estate or investment, there's actually a more sober side to this particular development. The district here is going to function, or it's meant to function as a regional financial center or a hub. And that is actually part of King Abdullah's effort to diversify the economy beyond the oil sector. Now, and the financial district has actually been given a mandate to promote a global outlook to help nurture a new generation of young Saudis who could actually excel in the global marketplace. Another aspect of this development is basically, it concerns energy. Now, some of you may not know, but according to a recent report by an international think tank, Saudi Arabia actually consumes 25% of its total oil production. Now, on that trajectory, by year 2040, they argue that the kingdom might become a net oil importer instead of an exporter. Now, this is disputable, of course, but nonetheless, the alarm bell is ringing. As we know, buildings consumes a huge amount of energy, and so basically, King Abdullah Financial District, or KAFD, tries to tackle this issue by looking at these, by providing sustainable solutions. Well, obviously, sustainability is a key agenda in this master plan, in this development. Well, a lot of these buildings had been LEED pre-credited or pre-certified. Most of them are silver, a lot of them are gold, and the entire master plan, or the entire district, is also to be LEED certified. Anybody here in the audience have been involved in this project? Yeah, I thought so. I'll be careful. Well, I'm not going to say too much about the sustainability credentials of some of these individual buildings or infrastructures. I think we're going to focus on sustainability at a urban level, basically. And what we want to focus on is basically a kind of sustainability that is encapsulated in the public realm between the buildings. And we'll focus on something that is low-tech, something perhaps old-fashioned, something very passive. And basically, we believe that these are the very basic, fundamental attributes that would help to deliver a sustainable urban habitat. Well, economically, of course, but of course, environmentally and culturally. We'll start with Genius Loci, as it's basically sense of space. Well, it's a picture taken from the outskirts of Riyadh. As you can see, these are the traditional mud buildings. And right in the middle here, you can see Kingdom Center. And here you can feel the contrast between traditional and the ultra modern here. And now we zoom in, and basically we have a landmark here in the downtown Riyadh. But at the same time, as you can see, the urban fabric is very different from what we've seen from the outskirts. one could argue that perhaps the very spirit of the place, the genius loci, has been lost in the process of urbanization. Now, on the site of the master plan, there's actually an existing geographical feature. It's called a wadi. And basically what it is a dry riverbed in a desert environment. And Riyadh is a desert, basically. It's a desert environment, but it does rain. And when it rains a lot. And, and every time it rains a lot, it kind of creates many passages of water running through the sand, basically, and then creating a temporary river, if you like. And this is basically what it looks like. Now, our wadi, of course, is a bit different. We don't have the mountains behind it, but I'm sure it was once quite beautiful. However, this particular feature has been lost, has been forgotten even in the process of urbanization. The heart of KAFD is the wadi. And basically, as you can see in this concept sketch, we're trying to reinterpret what a wadi is, basically. And in this case here, it is basically a urban plaza, an urban space, which occupies 35% of the total site area. And it acts as an artery that connects the different districts within the master plan. And most importantly, it is purely pedestrian orientated. Now, in our mind, and we're going to skip that slide, actually. I don't think we have that much time. But in our mind, this is our wadi, basically, a public realm that is full of life, with cafes and restaurants, people walking around. But how do you create this? How do you do this in a desert environment? I think this slide pretty much sums up the Danish mentality, if you like. The Danes are very optimistic when it comes to making the most out of the weather. We love being outdoor. Whenever there's a chance to be outdoor in the sun, we do it. Whether it's biking or drinking coffee. And even if it's very cold, we still do it. And how do we do that? We basically take a blanket with us, and drink warm coffee and sit outside in the sun. And I think this is the spirit that we're trying to convey, basically. It's these very fundamental little things that makes a difference. And this is the kind of methodology that we're trying to translate to a master plan. Microclimate, it's to do with shade. The green here represents approximately where the wadi is. This picture here was taken a while ago in the very beginning of the construction process. As you can see here, the distance between building plots are actually quite narrow. Again, the green representing the wadi. One of the feature, or I should say the key feature of the design of the master plan is basically to utilize the traditional desert townscape typology that was prevalent before the discovery of oil in the region. It's basically a lot of buildings packed together, divided by very narrow alleyways to create shade, of course. And of course, in order to do that accurately, we've done a lot of simulations and to make sure that we have the correct heights and placements and the orchestration of building volumes of each and every individual parcels within the master plan. And of course, the other feature is that by carefully arranging these building volumes, you actually could manipulate the prevailing winds as well. In our case, we try to divert the wind around the master plan and over the master plan as well. It is also possible to channel the wind through these buildings onto the wadi to create breeze, basically. Now, the combined effort of shade and breeze, we've discovered that we can actually reduce the temperature, the outdoor temperature on the wadi by 6 to 8 degrees. And this is real, basically. Now that most of the buildings have been topped out, a lot of our colleagues in Riyadh have told us that it's actually quite comfortable to be outside on the wadi. Again, of course, if you deploy that kind of strategy with very short distances between the buildings, you introduce shade, but at the same time you jeopardize the daylight. So the choice of materials and colors are very important, as you can see here. One is very dark and one is very, well, or brighter. Now, I'm just going to skip through these now. Basically, these are samples of our master plan documents just to make sure that we can deliver the different variations of these building volumes to ensure that the microclimate strategy is properly coordinated within the master plan. Pedestrian mobility, basically, it's our main theme today. This is how Riyadh once was, but today, Riyadh is one of the countries that has the highest car dependencies, even for relatively short distances. Now, one of the key features in KAFD is that we have a lot of skywalks or bridges connecting between buildings. In fact, all buildings are connected. You can pretty much walk from point A to point B or anywhere within the master plan through these bridges. These bridges are located on the first level above the ground, the first floor above the ground level, and they're all air conditioned. Time is up. I'm gonna dash through. Basically, this morning there was our colleague El Gourer. They presented skywalks, and they are basically the contractors of these sky bridges. Now, the issue is that we have two levels of circulation. One is on the wadi, and the other one is on the higher level here. Basically, the wadi is seen as a public space. The sky bridges are basically transient passages where you can move from point A to point B very quickly. That's these are the images. I'm just going to quickly flick through them. Now, that's part of the wadi. As you can see, it's shaded. And I'm afraid I don't have time to talk about the buildings we have designed in our own master plan, but I guess I can tell you that it hasn't been that easy as we thought to design our own buildings in our master plan, because we contradict ourselves a lot against our own master plan regulations. So that was a very interesting exercise. But nonetheless, this one is one of our buildings here. As you can see, we have a facade strategy that reflects the sun from above and provide transparency from below. And another building here is the crystal towers. Basically, we try to use light materials or light-colored materials as much as possible, and minimal glazing. Right, I will just wind up with this last slide. Basically, what we're trying to say, the main message today from us anyway, is that it is very important to design good tall buildings, but it is also equally important to design good urban habitat between tall buildings. Thank you very much.